Newbies in the role. This is your first term, first time ever in the role. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully you're learning a lot and you're realizing there is a fair amount to do, and delegation works amazing in your roles. I want to set some expectations before I throw it to Carrie. Carrie's going to be running the show here. Carrie understands the whole thing around goal setting and how to enter them into Connect and the whole purpose. And we're not talking about, hey, we want to grow the chapter from another 15 members this year, even though we've never grown 15 members ever in any one year. We're talking about real goals, how to set them, but how to put them into Connect, and they get tracked and going forward from there. So it is a BNI meeting. All the policies apply, all the code of ethics apply, number one. Number two, as always, we bring you best practices. You may like them, you may not like them. They are what they are. Participation today, yes. Debate, no. We're not wanting to debate anything. And please, just to set a real expectation for today is anything that you're going to put out that starts with, well, in our chapter, we ... Please keep it to yourself for the purpose of this meeting. This is more around the things that we know that work that we can share with everybody. So let's have an agreement to keep the things that you're doing in your own chapter that you might seem like a good idea. Let's keep them to ourselves for now. So today is the setting and presenting chapter goals, lunch and learn. Thank you for being here today. Carrie Rendeck, the show is yours.
Oh, look, but you're here too.
Don't know why, but that's okay.
So I just wanted to introduce myself for those of you who actually haven't ever met me. I am a chapter consultant with BNI BC. I am also the office manager for an office that doesn't exist, but it's there. And I've been working with Mark, boots on the ground for BNI BC for, I don't know, 6-7 years.
6-7 years now, yeah.
Yeah, crazy time. As always, I like to begin by thanking you for taking on your role. It's been a month and a bit, and so you're now starting to get used to how things operate instead of just being on the seeing side of things you're doing. And it's a really important role that the leadership executive team plays. You're literally or figuratively at the front of the room every week, leading your chapter. Today we're going to learn how to find your chapter goals, how to get them entered into BNI Connect, and how to report them back to your chapter. And so I want to start, and this is pretty interactive as much as possible. So when there's questions, just come off mute or write in the chat. So first question. Why would a chapter want to have chapter goals?
You can celebrate when you reach them.
Yes, for sure. Anybody else?
It gets the team on the same page.
Yes, very good. Thank you. So yeah, it's to measure the collective success of your members. So when everyone participates and they feel like you're a part of it and you achieve those goals, then everybody has a reason to participate. So next question, why do we want to report back to the chapter? And before you answer that, I have another question. So think about if you were a chapter where we didn't have the system in place. You met when you want. We didn't track whether or not you showed up. We didn't track the business that you pass with each other. What do we have in that scenario?
Lack of accountability.
Sure.
A board of trade meeting.
Or a meetup. There's nothing in place. You just choose to show up when you want to, and do what you want to. And that's not what BNI is about. So this is one of my favorite quotes by a guy named Pearson. So, and here's the thing, is when performance is measured, performance improves. That's only half of it. So So now think about your BNI chapter, you track stats, and none of your members look at their reports. So you could track as much as you want, but if you don't tell them how we're doing, it only goes so far. So the second half of this is when performance is measured and reported back, performance improves exponentially. So it's not enough for us to track everything. We have to report back to our chapter how we're actually doing. So one of the ways that we do report back to our chapter in our weekly chapter meeting is the VP report. So think about your own VP report that comes up every week and think about, well, if we were wanting to tell our chapter how we were doing, what questions do you want that VP report to answer? That's a real question.
Well, where are we going? Where are we going as a chapter?
Sure.
Like, what's the goal?
What else?
Is our revenue growing?
Yeah. Are we making money? What else?
Is everyone participating?
That too. So I think about this is an example of a VP report that comes right out of the box when you first launch, and this is a slide deck that you're given. So when you're looking at this report, what does it tell you? It tells you what you've done in the past. What else does it tell you? Does it answer the questions that you want a VP report to answer for your members? Is this number good? How do you know?
By comparing with the last year.
Okay, are you comparing it to where you want to go though?
I think you're trying to say that you need to have goals.
That's why we're here. So if you're always looking at the past, there's no point in having goals because you're never looking at them. We need to be showing what our goals are, and based on what we have done, how close are we to achieving them? This is another partially filled out VP report. So they showed what was done last week, what we've done this month to date, what our year to date could be, and what our annual goal could be. So they're starting to look at, okay, here's some numbers that we can show. And we're posting what our annual goal is. So the next step is, for me, I am a visual person as much as I love numbers. I am a tried and true mathlete. I also like visual representation of how we're doing. And so even percentages towards our goal would be helpful. So posting what your goals are, posting how close or far we are away. And I'll be really happy if no one makes fun of this next slide, but start using graphs. Make it something so that people can actually visualize how far or how close we are to meeting our goals. You don't necessarily need to do that every week, but maybe at the end of the month, once you have all your POMS data in for that particular month, and the traffic lights are out, well, let's show where we were at graphically last month and where we are this month, so people can see actually how much the chapter has done and how close we are to getting to our goals. So that is, in a nutshell, things that we wanting to be showing every week, every month, reporting back to our chapter on not just how much we've done, but how far we've gone. How far we've gone, how much farther we need to go to achieve our goals. So, where do we find this information? So once we're going a little bit backwards, we're starting with reporting and we're going to work our way back to how do we get the information that we need to enter in. So in reporting to you, there's an alert report. I just showed an example here. When you log into reporting to you and you go to your last received reports, there's going to be a weekly report, weekly alert report. And this is one place where you can go to get your results. So at the bottom of this report, every week, it shows your last 3 months of, this is short for results and goals. And these are all the metrics that we have inside BNI Connect. You'll see that this chapter hasn't set goals. But if you did have goals in there, you can look at, okay, so for the last 3 months, did we achieve our goals? And you can take this data because it comes out every week. So once every month comes out, you can just grab this and you can use this as part of your reporting in your weekly or monthly chapter reporting. You can also run lots of reports inside of BNI Connect. I think when it comes to entering goals, I have a whole bunch of slides as to where to go and what to do. I think it might be easier if I actually just went into BNI Connect and showed you. So I'm going to do that. Is there anybody that doesn't mind if I use their chapter?
Fine by us if you want to use Creekside.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Can everybody see BNI Connect now? Yes? Okay. So here we have in BNI Connect, we have operations chapter. And down here, it says manage goals. And then enter chapter goals and view chapter goals. So if you click on enter chapter goals, and this is the role of president that does this. So once you've got all your goal data from all of your chapter members and everything, this is where the president would gather the data and enter it in. So on the first page, so at some point, BNI Creekside has entered in vision and mission statements. This will, once you put them in, they will stay there until you remove them and put something else in. So if you have a mission and vision, good place to put it. Start month and year. So this would be, typically we would be starting in October of 2024. And then you just say go. We'll come back to this chapter goal guide in a second. And then what comes up is the opportunity to put in 6 months worth of goals. So even if you create an annual goal and you break it down straight line through like by 12, you can still only enter in the first 6 months. And then when you get closer to the next half of the term, you can enter in the next 6 months. And there's a whole slew of different goals that you can enter. So thinking about this for a moment, when you put your goals in, obviously you want your attendance to be 100%. Some of the goals are going to be really easy for you to figure out. It's going to be based on power of 1. The only thing you would have to keep in mind is based on, for example, total number of one-to-ones, you base it on the number of members you have. But if you also plan to grow, then you have to incorporate that into your numbers as you go. So there's going to be a little bit of a finesse when you're entering them in, but you'll have collected all that data to sort of guess how many new members you're going to want to keep. What's the size of your chapter? So we have our basic units of Power of One, which is attendance, one-to-ones, CEUs, visitors, new memberships. So this is where you would maybe decide, well, if we're going to be doing stack days or full visitor event days, how many new memberships would we want to be getting in that particular month? If you map that out and you report that back to your membership, they're going to pay more attention to actual growth, because if they have visitor goals, they're going to start correlating the visitors that they bring to the new memberships that come into your chapter. Number of members in your chapter. So that's not just the same as your membership size plus, the number of members you have plus new memberships, because you got to think about attrition. And I don't want you to think that you need to go through member by member and think, are they going to renew? Are they going to renew? Just give yourself some sort of sense of, we need to plan for losing X number of members every month, or maybe not. That's if you have a really strong chapter and you have high retention, maybe not. Or you can use it based on what your retention rate currently is. So if you're an 80% retention rate, then you can figure out the averages about how many number of members you're going to have in a chapter every month. Number of referrals, same thing. Is it Power of One? And thank you for closed business would be based on your annual goal as a chapter. You can break it down into 12-month chunks, or if you have things that are more seasonal, you can decide how that works too. But that's entirely up to you when you're figuring out your monthly goals, how you want to enter them in. I wouldn't really be concerned about doing it per member. I would just do it for the whole chapter. So you'll also see with each of the metrics, there's mechanism 1 and mechanism 2. If you click on this chapter goal guide, it gives you some ideas on actions that you can be taking as a chapter and tactics to focus on over 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. Kristen, res means results. So what you actually did versus what your goal was. So it gives you some ideas about actions that you can take to start achieving the goals that you set every month for your chapter. So in it, there's mechanisms for every one of those metrics. So it gives you some ideas to take back to your chapter. There's education moments in there. There's challenges. There's membership committee best practices. There's, correlating visitors to new memberships. So that's something that the membership committee, that you can work with the membership committee on, and the education coordinator, the visitor host coordinator, even the mentor coordinator, on things that you want to do to start achieving these goals. Any questions about that? Or about anything? Or is just everybody really on the ball?
So just, you're gonna put like, you pick one and put in the one, you pick two, but if you want to change, you go along the way and save again and save again. Sorry, right?
I just lost that part. So yeah, so you just go in and enter in the numbers and then you save. You can always go back in and edit. But this is a good starting point so that once they're in there, you can start reporting on that. This was what we said we wanted to do, and then you compare it to your actuals, and that's what we actually did. And that's when you report that, whether it's once a month or progress through each week, it helps the chapter collective and individual members to think, oh my gosh, we need to celebrate it with something because we're crushing it. Or we've got 1 week left, or in this month or in this quarter, we need to put on our jogging shoes and get rolling on stuff.
So Carrie, this is part of the VP report still, is that right?
Yeah, so the goals are entered in to BNI Connect by the president. This is stuff that the VP can include in their VP report. If you're doing a monthly special report, that can be done by the president or the VP.
And are they the only ones who have access? You think?
I think the president is the only one that has access to enter the goals.
Okay.
I believe you can view the goals if you're not president. But now you're testing my knowledge.
When are these goals formulated? Like, who does the president just decide, or do we set a separate meeting outside of the chapter success meeting to talk about this as a chapter with the leadership? Or
Wait, there's more.
oh, okay.
Okay, so any questions about entering goals into BNI Connect before we move on?
Sorry, Joanne McClellan from Kelowna. Did you say that the president is the only one who has the access to enter any of the goals?
Correct. It's their responsibility to do that.
Okay. Okay, so
Carrie.
the president should be here, not the VP?
The invitation was for the presidents, vice presidents, and secretary treasurers.
Okay.
Carrie, just a heads up. I just logged into my Connect and I can change goals as VP.
Good to know. It's still the responsibility of the president, though. There's always a backup for everything. Okay. Are we ready to move on from here? Okay. So we already, I put these slides in the slide deck in case someone wanted the slide deck. So just showing all the different areas that we have for entering and a sample of the goals mechanism. Okay.
Great. I'd love the slide deck, please, Carrie.
Sure thing. Okay. So we've talked about reporting the goals. We've talked about entering the goals. Where do we get the data? Where do you think we get the data? Where would you get the data? Where would you find out how to set your goals?
Palms report.
Okay, what else?
The members, gathering it from each member, as many
With the
of them as you
membership
can.
committee? With the membership committee, we can do?
Yeah.
Traffic lights to compare with other chapters and get inspired.
So, okay. Is that necessarily realistic though? If someone else is doing $2 million and you're like, I want to do $2 million in our chapter, and your history shows that you've only done 500,000, is that going to be a realistic goal setting? So you always got to do litmus tests for everything. Okay. Question. If we were to ask members for their goals, what would that give us? Why would we want to do that?
It gives us individual buy-in. If they send their goals and then your goal is an accumulation of those goals, you have automatic buy-in. You're not telling them what the goal is, they're telling you.
I didn't even pay him beforehand to say that. Absolutely. So they have skin in the game. So when you report on it, they're like, hey, I was a part of that. And absolutely, it's that collective buy-in. So how do we ask members for their goals? Besides quickly and not asking them to think too hard about it. Just give them a form. It's so easy. Make a survey. One thing that I would recommend, and I highly recommend this, is to ask them both for giving goals and gaining goals. Our giving goals, you would think for some of these activities are power of one. But maybe they have different ideas. Maybe they want to do more. Maybe they can't do more. But ask them. And not just power of one, but ask them how much they think they could be thanked for in a year. How much business would their fellow members make based on the referrals that they pass? And not just how many visitors do you want to bring, but how many new members do you want to sponsor? Because again, that starts them thinking, if I'm going to sponsor someone, I have to put some extra special thought into the visitors that I bring, because they need to be, in my mind, a good fit for the chapter. And then gaining goals. This is a fancy spreadsheet, but you don't have to get fancy. Have it available. But also, so now we've talked about what they want to get back to the chapter, but what do they want to get out of the chapter? How many referrals do I want to receive in a year? And how much money do I want those referrals to generate? And there's a calculation here about conversion rate. So if you say I need 20 referrals to make my money, but I only have a 75% conversion rate, is 20 referrals going to make it for you, or do you need 25? So they can put some thought into it. If you ask them what they want to receive and they just give you a number, you can take that too. But if they want to have put some thought into it, you can provide them with something like this that will help them really think about what they want to get out of their membership in the following year. Giving goals and gaining goals can go on their gains profile. So every time they have a one-to-one, it's there in front of them, reminding them of what their goals are. And the person they're having a one-to-one can say, well, how are you doing with your goals? So again, it's an opportunity to have a conversation about how you are engaging in the chapter and what are you deriving the benefit of your chapter membership. So assuming for the moment you get everyone to give you your goals, and then what?
Sorry, Carrie, are those forms available on the resources page?
No, this is a fancy spreadsheet that I have that I can email you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Can
Really-
you just, as a matter of course, email it to all of us?
Let me make a note. What I'll do is I'll post it in the WhatsApp chats. How's that? Makes it easy. Okay, so then it's like, okay, so what you can do is take all your member totals, add them up, and then put some, this is sort of the middle column would be sort of that litmus test of what's the power of one. And from that, you can create chapter goals. We don't have a power of one for thank you for closed visitors, or thank you for closed business or new members. I just put that in there as a placeholder. But again, you need to have some sort of test around this. I did a goal setting workshop with another chapter, the BNI Edge, a few years ago, and they did the exercise, they piled them up, and as they were handing them in, I was adding everything up, and then I posted it up. And at the end of it, because everybody said they wanted to sponsor a new member, suddenly they were going to double in size. And they already had over 30 members. So is it reasonable to expect you to get 30 new members in a year? So that's where you got to put some thought behind what your collective membership says they want to do. Also, when it comes to thank you for closed business, if you add up how much people want to be thanked for, and you add up how much people want to receive, if people want to receive more than your chapter membership is willing to give, there might be a bit of a disconnect there. So again, don't just take the data at face value. Look at it, see what makes sense. When it comes to some goals, you might want to do stretch goals. Because you want to inspire people, you want it to be realistic, but you also want to have something is like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really hard, but we're going to get there, because that's so much more inspiring and exciting when you actually achieve it. Any questions about that? And yes, I will send you some spreadsheets, as they are my friends. Okay, so we talked about the VP report and reporting chapter goal achievements. What about reporting member goal achievements? So this is something because we talked before about how they now, by participating in the forming of the goals, they've got their own. Why not report on their achievements as well? So perhaps regularly, I don't know if maybe month, I said quarterly because monthly might be too often. Just send out a poll based on your giving goals. We're 25% through the year, so we're 3 months in. Have you achieved all your goals? And it's just a yes or no. Not I did this, not this, not this, just have you achieved them all? Same for their gaining goals. They just take their goal, cut it in quarters. Have they achieved that? And always the one that was fun to do is, because we never really talk about attendance in these goals, other than it's in there as 100% as a goal, but which members have perfect attendance? And you can do perfect attendance with everyone who's a P, or perfect attendance meaning present or sub, no absence, no medical. You can do both. But by reminding your membership of what they wanted to get out of their membership and reporting that back, it's also a chance for them to think, oh my gosh, I am really on target to achieve my own goals, not just the chapter. And so that is actually all I have for entering in goals, finding them. We can do some other Q&A, but just to remember that when we have goals and we report them back to the chapter, that really helps to increase the engagement. When we solicit their input on the goals, it also increases engagement, and it helps you understand what really is a realistic goal for each of those metrics. And using the reporting back, using reports that are easy to read, not too many words or numbers on the page, but also tells a good story. Tells a good story about where you're at, where you've come from. We always want to be looking forward to see how far we need to go. You do need to look back to see how far we've come. So that's always a good. We don't want to spend all our time looking back, but it's a good way to help just increase that participation and the sense that we're achieving something collectively, which is make more money. And that is what I have for you today. Any questions, comments?
Sorry, Carrie, I have a question. I don't know if I had a brain fart, but did you cover what the difference in mechanism number 1 and 2 are when entering the goals?
There's no difference. It's just we're going to pick 2.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a list of them, and maybe this month we're going to do this one, and then this month we're going to do this one and this one. So you get to sort of map out what you're going to be focusing on every month. And is that it? Any more questions? Things you want to see?
In general, how quickly are chapters able to kind of get this going and organized? Like, is this something we want to have organized by like this month's chapter success meeting so that we can kind of get going on it, or like this?
Yeah, I wouldn't wait too long. We're 1 month into the year. We're into month 2 right now. And the good thing is if you want to get all the information from all your members, just create a quick form or a survey and make it as simple as possible so that you're going to get the chance of getting a response from everybody is going to be higher. Let me go. How do I go backwards? There's going to be times where, say you're a 30-member chapter and you only get input from 25 people. So you can use as placeholders power of one metrics for those members that didn't submit anything. But just keep it as simple as possible. Like, can't get much more simple than that.
And how often do you recommend that we, like, once we have the goals, we're going to report the goals? You said something about every month or so. How often do you think we should be letting them know about the goals? If that makes sense. Like, should we keep reminding them, not just reporting, but a reminder about our goals? Like, does that make sense?
Well, you're going to have in the VP report, you're going to be reporting on stuff every week anyway. Is this when you want to do a little bit more on a monthly basis? This really helps show the progress. Progress is important. Progress is important to see. If you show it every week, it kind of loses its appeal. It's kind of like doing notable networkers every week. We don't do notable networkers. We do it once a month.
So we used to have a poster that had the temperature chart on it. It had the goals, and it would sit at the front of the room for the entire meeting. You could probably find it somewhere. Maybe it's in Business Builder. I'm not sure. But the idea is it's always at the front of the room because then it's always front of mind. We do have chapters who would report on it. We also had a chapter who would chastise the members when they were reporting on it. We said we'd have 20 visitors, we only have 10. What's wrong with you? We've heard that, so we're not doing that. It's about celebrating. But the idea is that it's always either on a slide, you go over it, or do a poster that sits in the front of the room. This is our goal. Here's where we're at with the, like Carrie has on the screen in front of you. The idea of these goals is it's one thing to set goals. It's really important to figure out what you're going to do to get there. That's why there's the mechanisms. What are you going to do to get there other than setting the goals, and the goals have to be realistic. I will tell you this, though, that the difference between a fun chapter and a chapter that means business is setting the goals, sticking to them, educating on them. This is why we wash, rinse, repeat a lot of education, because you have to keep educating your members on what they are and informing them where they're at. That's how you create success. So you could be a business group chapter, and we found out when we did orientation, everybody's here to make money. Well, this is about business, and there's the fun side, but that is a secondary seat to making money and growing each other's businesses. And so you get to decide what kind of chapter you're running.
As a proud VP of a fun chapter, you can do both. You can always do both.
Sure. Any other comments, questions, suggestions?
I think to your point, Ken, all chapters would say they're fun, which is cool. And you can do both, and you really got to keep an eye on why we're here is for members to grow their business and make money. You are members, that's why you're here, I believe. And so take this information to heart. What Carrie is educating on, we'll have the video ready as well. But it's a communication piece between the LET members, set the goals, educate your members, and these make great education moments on what it is you're working on as well. So speak to your education coordinators about that as well.
Yeah. And sometimes we talk about, you may have set a theme for the year. So what is our theme? Is it back to basics? Is it we want growth? Is it we want to double our thank you for closed business? There's going to be an overarching theme, which is part mission vision, but also part what are the things that is our chapter going to focus on the most? And some of that might be we have a lot of members that have challenges with certain areas. So let's focus on that. If bringing visitors is a challenge for a lot of your members, then create a lot of activities around how to find people to invite, how to get them to show up, and how to convert. Do a lot of education around that. You can create a whole strategy. If there's a lot of newer members that are having a hard time understanding how to pass a referral, do education on what's the difference between a referral and a lead, how to do quality one-to-one so I can ask the right questions of my fellow members to understand what they do and who they want to work with, and how to find someone that I can refer to them. There's always ways that you can educate and lead by example on the tactics that you want to use to achieve the goals that you set.
I think one of the things here for you all is we have a system called BNI, and BNI has BNI Connect, and this is right in there. All this is built in. It's all there. You don't have to reinvent anything. That's the beauty of it. So use it. And Carrie will help you if you have questions.
What is playing the BNI game? Is that the power of one that it's referring to, or is that something different?
There's I think in BNI Business Builder, there is a whole game that's around a whole bunch of different activities. But it is around power of one. And there's pros and cons to doing some of the challenges where you want people to get engaged. You just don't want them to game the system. Funnily enough, how ironic. There's also the BNI Go game, which is like a bingo game. But there's a lot of other activities and meeting stimulants that you can do as well. Just ask me, or go into BNI Business Builder and start looking around.
Actually, a great place to ask these questions is in your WhatsApp groups, because then everybody will see the question and get the same reply too, which is probably a good place to post your questions as well. Learning for all.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Do you have any questions? Any other questions, thoughts, comments? I know you all want to eat your lunch. Okay. If we need to do a second one, a follow-up to one of these, let us know. We'll be happy to put one on, or a more interactive thing. I don't know. We'll come up with whatever you want. And if there's any topics you all want Lunch and Learns on, let us know as well. Just reach out, send us emails, put it in the chat groups. But hope this was helpful for all of you. Thank you, Carrie, for putting this together and taking the time. And thank all of you for being here today. Go rock your chapters. Set the goals.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.
Thank you.